Now let's look at another widely used tool inside of Photoshop, which is the Type tool. Type tool is going to allow you to select fonts and create typography and type within your design. It doesn't matter if it's paragraphs or if it's single letters or even symbols and glyphs that you can use within Type. And we'll take a look more in detail at Type in this course later on. But let's go ahead and take a look at the tool real quick so you can see how to create it. So down underneath the pen tool, you'll see the Type tool, and the shortcut key is the letter T, and you'll see that we have the horizontal type tool, the vertical type tool, the vertical type mask tool, and the horizontal type mask tool. So we'll start with the horizontal type tool, and all you have to do is just click out into an empty area of the Photoshop document here, and we will just type, "How are you?" And it creates that for us. Now, whenever we create this, you can see that it creates a new layer for us. And whenever we click on another layer, it's going to change the name of that layer to whatever we typed. So we wrote, "How are you?" And you can see "How are you" is the name of that layer now, and it's a type layer because we can see the letter T. Now, if we're on the background and we hover over the type and we click near it or inside of it, it'll take us back to that layer as long as we have the type tool on, and it will allow us to edit it immediately. So if you want to create new type, you got to make sure you don't click anywhere near your first layer because it will allow you to edit and you won't be able to create a new layer. So if we want to create a new layer, just make sure that you do it out into an open area, and then we can create a second thing of type. So now we have the "How are you" layer and the "I am good" layer, and those are separated. We'll go ahead and delete this one out. We don't need it. And with the type tool selected, if we go and click on the type layer, we can make adjustments. Now we can do this with the tool before we start typing, or we can do it after we've typed. This is also a vector style graphic and it's easily editable. So we can go ahead and change the fonts and the colors and everything we want even after we've created the type. The first thing, let's go ahead and change the color just so it's easier to see. So you can see we have a color swatch at the top. It's black, and if we click on it, we can change the color to white, and it automatically updates there for us. We also have the color picker, so let's say we want to do the same kind of off-white color that's in this design. I can click on that, and it will adjust it for us. Or we can click the yellow, or the coffee, or the pink, and it makes it really easy for us to adjust the colors right away of this image. So I'll just pick that kind of off-white color, and I'll hit OK, and now the colors change for us, and we can always go back and change that later on. So let's take a look at the other options. We can change this from vertical to horizontal type or horizontal to vertical type. If I click on this first button, it's going to make that vertical and go down the page now for us. Let me click on the move tool, and I'll just move this out here so it's a little easier to see. So now we have vertical type. I'm going to click on my type tool, and we can click on that button and it will change it back for us. We can change the font by clicking on this drop down box, and once it loads, it will show us all the fonts and give us a preview as we hover over them, which is really nice because it makes it easy for us to pick a font that we want. We can also add more fonts in later from Typekit. If we don't see the font here we need, we can install those and use those fonts also. We also have font options. So do we want it to be narrow, or do we want it to be italicized or bold, and so forth? So we have all those options. We can change the font size, so you can make it any size you want. You can also click in here and write in your own font size. So if you need something bigger than what there is, you can go ahead and type that in also. So let's change that to 30. I think 30 is easy to see. We can change how the font looks. Do we want it to have sharp corners, crisp corners, strong, smooth, and for Windows LCD or Windows, normally I just leave it on the default settings, either none, or I might put it on crisp for a little sharper look, but basically those will change how the fonts come out. How do we want to align it? Left aligned, center aligned, or right aligned? The color, we can warp the font. So if we click on this, it'll allow us to warp this font. Now Photoshop is giving an error, cannot complete your request because the type layer uses a font bold style. Remove attribute and continue. These font bold styles on these fonts don't allow you to edit them. So if you ever see this error, just hit OK. We'll cancel that out. And if you go into the character panel and you hover over this big T right here, it says it's font bold. And if we click on that, it will not do the font bold for us. You can use bold a different way inside of the font, but this is a font bold, and it's great for making it nice and bolded, but it doesn't allow you to edit for some reason. So we're going to turn that off, and for the rest of the time we use fonts, when we get into the type section, we're going to leave that off for now so we can show you all the editing options. But now I can go ahead and warp this font, so I can give it an arc. So you can see it arcing there. I can give it a bulge, and you have all these different things that you can do with the fonts, and we'll take a look at those a little later. Then we have the ability to go ahead and bring up the character and paragraph panels, where there's a lot more options for our type. And we can also make 3D type. We won't get too deep into 3D in this course, but you can turn your text into 3D. So that is the horizontal type tool. Now we also have the vertical type tool. So this is going to allow you to start writing out your type immediately vertically. So it's just like clicking the button, only we'll start off vertically. So I am good. And then you can see how it creates that. We'll hit the move tool and bring it up so you can see. So that is the vertical type tool. So you can start typing vertically. Okay, and then if we look over in the toolbar, we have the vertical type mask and the horizontal type mask. They'll both work the same way, but I'll just show you the horizontal type mask. If we click on that, and then we write out in here, let's just make this a little bigger so we can see this. And we'll write hello. You can see that we're actually editing in a masked mode. So here you can see that everything's turned red, and you can see our selection that we're going to make based on our type. So this is a great way to do a lot of type effects with masks. Now if we go to the top and we just click on the plus arrow saying that we want to confirm this, it turns it into a selection. But if we go down to say the background layer, and we come down and we hit add layer mask, it'll take that selection and create a mask out of it. So if I hit this button, you can see that it added a layer mask to the background layer and created our text here for us to be able to edit. So this is a great way to make a lot of cool effects. We can also invert this by holding down Control or Command and hit I. It'll invert the mask, and now you can see it's cutting away at the image there. So our text has cut away. If we put something behind this layer, you would see that come through. So that is how we can use the mask tool to create selections of our type. And again, we'll look more at type a little bit later on and go through all the intricacies, but I want to go ahead and show you the tool now because there's a lot that we're going to be able to do with it, and including creating masks and creating shapes from type and so forth.